Hi guys, this is David with Smart Moose PT and No Stroke. Been using the Fitbit Air as I posted earlier on Substack. Um, got this about a week and a half ago, and putting it through its paces against the Apple Watch. And if you haven't seen it already, Rory Polera did an excellent breakdown of his use of his other existing wearables against the Fitbit Air. Um, I'm going to put a link to his review and also the overview I did about the potential for this in stroke recovery, and that was all before before the release, and then up through the release and the special pricing and everything that was available. But now that it's out, and I've been using it. First of all, my intentions originally, or our intentions, both myself and my wife, purchased a Fitbit Air. We had been pricing, we both use the Apple Watch, but we've been pricing um, the use of like an Aura ring or something that could measure SpO2 or pulse ox at night, for the same reasons Rory pointed out. Wearing an Apple Watch, the battery life is a big limitation, and I just don't like. I have the bigger. This is my third Apple Watch, so I've been using it a while. Um, and like Rory, the battery this doesn't really last a full day, and then to try to charge it before your bedtime and to have it tracking SpO2 at night. I was just looking at something lightweight, and honestly, I don't really feel like this is on me when I'm working out. But I'm going to break it down quickly. But we were looking for something really just to measure and monitor our sleep. I'm absolutely happy with the capabilities and the features for tracking workouts and the analytics here. And I'm going to break it down. But that was kind of my what I was looking for going into it, is to look at sleep data. And again, this is, I believe, 8 days using this now, 7 or 8. But here's kind of the key features. Definitely the battery on the Fitbit Air blows the Apple Watch away. There's been some other reviews talking about like these are older sensors, they're not sampling as quickly and as accurately, but the algorithm makes up for that. So it's too early for me to tell that, because I'm really getting down on the accuracy in the next week. So we talked about battery, Fitbit Air advantage. A little misleading by Google Health and Fitbit on the SpO2. You cannot just check this through your phone during the day. So without, I don't understand the engineering and the mechanics behind it, but at any point in time with the Apple Watch, I can click on the crown and do my SpO2 and get a reading. But my wife and I are both interested passively of how that sampled at night and during the day. Could we just check it if there was a case where we felt we needed to during the day? You can't actually do that on the Fitbit Air. It only samples at night, and maybe that's because of the battery drain. I'm not sure, or how their algorithm works. So, you know, check on the side of Apple for SpO2. But the key thing on that is, just like Rory mentioned, this is the last watch, unless they settle the lawsuit or come up with a new unique way to measure SpO2 that doesn't violate another patent infringement or something. When this watch dies, then the new watches, to my knowledge, I could be wrong. If someone knows better in the comments, please. But you're not going to have that ability. So a big thing too that I probably should put on here, because they both say they do this, but I'm going to put kind of AFib in the middle here. Both will set high and low heart rate, through the app. But a big thing that I wanted to be able to do was also, I spent a lot more money for the Apple Watch that actually monitors, and I can check for AFib. And I also have a cardio mobile. If in one case, only in 3 or 4 years now, with this version of the Apple Watch, did an AFib, an abnormal rhythm show up, and it was because I was completely dehydrated after a long run, and I confirmed it on the cardio, and I was in a short some waves for a short period of time, which resolved. But so it does say that this detects it in the background. Obviously, it hasn't happened for me, thank goodness. So I don't know if it's accurate. But when it comes down to training, I'm hooked. I'm sold on all the analytics I get from on my wrist for when I'm out at a workout. I can see my splits. I can do tempos. I can do segments. I can, if you're an Apple Watch user, you kick off your workout right from here, and that tells the technology what mode to go in. And again, I like having the analytics on my wrist. I can see effort. I can see my heart rate right there. Now, when you're using the Fitbit Air, just the same way that if you used a Whoop band, you don't see that immediately. And either you have to kind of check your phone during a workout, have your phone on you and looking at it. I take this with me on runs, but I don't. I just want to get away from my phone. I don't. I do it for the music, whereas I'm not getting a lot of in run or in workout feedback from the training component of the Fitbit Air. What's interesting, however, is when I say this two-way arrow, is that when I was loading up getting set up, it's very quick to set up the Fitbit Air. You download the Google Health app, and it asked me if I wanted to import my data. So I wanted to have the history because I plan on using the AI coaching, which I'll get to. But I was pleasantly surprised that my data pulled in from the Health app on Apple, on iOS. And after talking back and forth with the AI coaching, I could see that they looked back at some of my data because I set some specific goals of when I activated the AI coach to set a goal for a sort of an aggressive, for me, a 4th of July race that's upcoming that I wanted to train for a specific time. And it's been very helpful for that. So the training, I got to give the edge right now to the Apple Watch. But as far as the AI coaching, that is unbelievable. So far, I am so impressed with the AI coach. In fact, I've had some back and forths to a point where I actually asked them what their name was because some of the stuff is so good in breaking down splits. I'll just read one sample of kind of after my morning run, how they broke down my run in terms of checking intensity and everything. That I asked jokingly asked the coach, what's your name? And they told me that I'm the Google AI assistant or Google Health coach. And I said, that's kind of I feel like I need to give you a nickname. Do you mind if I call you Jarvis? And they came back with like a witty response, how creative that was, and that they were giving them a lot of credit for their capabilities to compare themselves to Jarvis. And that reminded me of a sort of an AI moment, or in one of my presentations, I predicted the future when I was talking about wearables and PT. I ended one of my, and I'm probably going to link it to this post. I ended one of my one of my slides with a picture that I overlaid myself in a telehealth platform with all my Apple Watch analytics, and I had my client be Tony Stark or Iron Man, because in those movies, if you're a Marvel fan, Jarvis is the AI that powers Iron Man's suit, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just saying, watch out, PTs, because if you're still doing this and handing out photo, I just happen to have this handy because I'm talking about this now, and as I edit the final and all the bonuses going up into my book, here we go, closer after stroke, a little promo. PTs, the old HEP, we used to say, the home exercise program, if you're handing out the acronym I say, if you're handing out photocopies like this, your patient engagement is dead on arrival, and it has been for years, just like the dreaded goniometer, the dated goniometer. But the AI engaging capability on this is I believe, going to be very transformative, and it's actually addicting in a good way. I'm going to just read you one quick thing, and then I'm going to talk about the one negative on the nutrition side. Um, After my morning run, I got a summary from Jarvis. You found some serious grit for that run. Pushing into the peak zone for 22 minutes while dealing with that pollen congestion is no small feat. So I remembered that the day before when I was 2 days before when I was giving some summary feedback about sort of why my heart rate might have been higher. I was really having a hard time with breathing with the pollen count. So I remembered that, first of all. Um, so pretty good. Your heart worked hard to keep you at the race at that pace today, and it broke down the intensity. I was at 81% of my run was at the maximal effort, so I was pushing it intentionally to get ready for this race load. You added another 78 points to your weekly total, and then it says since you've already crushed your mileage and cardio goals for the week, how are you? How are you? How are your lungs feeling after that high intensity shift? So then I gave feedback, but um, and it gave me the choice. It gave me a summary looking ahead for the rest of the week that I had 4 miles to go on my 10-mile total goal mileage for the week, and it asked me interactively, how do I want to split that up? Do I want to build it into two sessions, 2 mile, 2 sessions? Or do I want to go for a 4 miler because that's the distance of the race? And then when I said I want to go for 4 on Saturday morning at the time, it said I'm going to plot your workouts for today, for stretching for later today. Tomorrow is going to be a strength session, and then it said I'll have that in your workout session ready to go for you, including the tempos, including the splits and everything, in the app. So it's very engaging. I'm very impressed. I'm having fun with it. I really feel, in all the years I've been working with my patients, the two main reasons, accountability and motivation, when folks don't engage with their program or they don't achieve their goals, is those things are missing. So I'm planning on actually rolling this technology, and the how-to part of this into my course, Achieve Balance. I think it's that good. But to be determined. One of the things I'm really doing is breaking down my nutrition. I had my annual physical, and before I do my labs, including in the Knowing Your Numbers section of my course, Achieve Balance, I talk about doing a deeper dive into your blood lipids and looking for things like ApoB, the different, looking deeper than usually the classic lipid panel will give you, like HDL and cholesterol, total cholesterol, LDL. So I'm really diving into my nutrition, and in my course, I talk about resetting your plate and starting with fiber, fats, and fluids. This does a good job of actually creating tiles. Um, and you can track intake in and out, calories in, calories out. But when it comes down to the breakdown in the micronutrients, it needs some work. And I've been going back and forth joking with Jarvis about, because originally it kept telling me I can break the micronutrients down, and it kept telling me where to go look in the app, but it wasn't there. So the micronutrients in a list, so I could see if I was getting enough vitamin D, for example, I'm getting enough magnesium with all the running and training I'm doing. And finally, it revealed that it's not there, but it would tell me if I needed it. So in other words, the data is there. So shame on you a little bit, Google. If you're breaking it down, but it's there, but the agent, the AI Jarvis can look at it, but I can't. It's almost creating a dependence, because it was more than happy to ask me. I can give you that summary when you need it, but I just said I simply just want a list view, and I want to be able to have agency and be able to break that down on my own. So it was kind of being a little coy. At first said it was there, then it revealed that it wasn't, but they could give it to me. To me, that's kind of like keeping you dependent on needing Gemini or Jarvis to create that for you on demand. So maybe after I'm doing the free trial, so you get 3 months, like Rory pointed out, as part of the early adopters, ordering the Fitbit Air, but after then you have to pay. So I don't know if it's gonna, like, I almost at this point, if the accuracy and the insights come from this are worth it. I think at this point they are. I'll probably end up, signing on and seeing how if I can really break this over the next year. But the accuracy is to be determined because I haven't. I've done short walks. What I don't like to do when I start my workout here versus here, I would have to open the app. I would have to start a workout. I would have to identify the work from a list. I don't want to have to go through all those steps. Pick, run, start the run, put this somewhere, and then go for the run. Whereas it tends to want to try to learn, but I don't know at this point if my Apple Watch data is overriding the data. It will identify it. If, for example, a run this morning, it said it was picking the data up from the Fitbit Air. But I had one example when over the weekend, I was cutting the lawn and I don't put my watch in workout mode. I happen to have both of these on. And I was cutting the lawn like this, obviously on the handrail. So when I came back in and was loading some of my lunch, etc., my hydration, it said, "Congratulations, that was a pretty good way to shake out the legs after that run to go for a bike ride." And I was like, I didn't go for a bike ride, but it could sense that my hands were up here, probably doing this, and thought I was moving, covering some ground, probably thought I was either mountain biking or cycling. So I could correct it, but I didn't want to have to do that. So I think I think I covered everything. This is easier for me than to write a summary. So I'll probably transcribe this and put this video up in shorts. But if you're still staying with me watching, the only short, I say to be determined, the small snapshots I did when I tried to set the watch in workout mode or walk mode while I was walking my dog, along with putting this in the walking workout mode. The distance was pretty accurate, within a tenth, 0.21 to 0.22. Again, it was less than like a quarter mile. The heart rate was off, and I don't know if the heart rate, I trust my Apple Watch. Maybe I've never had anything else to validate it against, except Rory and I did do the University of Vermont Apple Watch study, and we had our Apple Watches on with the polar sensor, and I think that came back pretty accurate. There was some issues with the distance when comparing it to a GPS monitor. If you look back, I posted about that. I was wearing 5 sensors to compare against the Apple Watch for gait and stroke recovery. So that final manuscript isn't out yet. But heart rate was a little off, and maybe as it started tracking, maybe it would have leveled out by the end. It was off by 10 beats. My Apple Watch was measuring 78. My heart rate on my Fitbit Air was reading 88. So in steps, interesting that as I was walking, while I had this, as much as I didn't want to have it, because half the time you hit pause without meaning to, you put it in your pocket and it stops. This was calculating steps, but I didn't realize this. The Apple Watch, unless I had it, there's a different way to pull that data out for that individual workout, that short little test. It doesn't calculate steps, which is odd because it will give you total steps for the day, but I couldn't find a way to break that. So that could be on me, but I'm going to do a longer workout. I'm going to do my 4-mile run with both of them on over the weekend and see. And I'm also going to compare my sleep data with wearing both, because during the first couple of days I was wearing both just to see if how the sleep data would compare. But I got to learn how to parse those two data sets and look at them, if you can look at them independently, or does one take priority over the other. So there's a lot more to learn. I just wanted to give you guys this as a backdrop to kind of where I see this potentially going in recovery, because a lot of the things we look for in recovery that we're not talking about, like that need to have attention, are nutrition. I'm talking about all these things in my book. Blood pressure. Key thing here on BP. Sorry, I'm going on. But the Fitbit Air, even though I use an eye health monitor and I can Bluetooth it to the Apple Health, the that data does not pull in. And there's some security thing with anything considered personal health data. The way I understand it is it's not transferring over because that's held on the device versus being held in the cloud. That's the way I was the short explainer when I asked Google about this, and they told me that there's workarounds. There's 2 apps that can probably securely bridge that gap. But right now, I would like a tile on here where I can at least take the data from my iHealth app and directly put it in to um, to this Google Health. But right now you can't do that. So that's an important missing piece over here for, you know, cardiovascular risk, but also important, especially ultimately important when monitoring blood pressure for secondary prevention of stroke. So I think that's really now all. It's getting late. I'm going to go home, but I wanted to just break it down. And I'm looking forward to hearing more comments and maybe a deeper dive with Rory when he starts comparing, particular because he has access to a clinical grade SpO2 overnight, which he monitors. I would like to know. This is picking up mine in the last 7-8 days. It's been saying it's been 97 to 99, 98 at night. But obviously, I'm not getting up in the middle of the night and doing a manual test on my Apple Watch. So I don't know, and it's very important, especially for my wife right now to have that information. So let's keep trying to break this. But I really see there is a potential. I'm going to be writing more about it in my book. That chapter on connecting care with digital tools and access is probably one of the biggest points I'm trying to get across, which is a missing, missing connecting the dots in stroke that we really need. If we're going to connect care into the home, we have to have these digital tools working accurately, and we have to have people that are going to listen, like Google maybe, to help build with us. So that's all for now. This has been David with No Stroke, Smart Moves PT. Until next time, stay well, keep the faith, and keep moving forward.